The Dark Ages, Myths, Facts, and Enlightenment.
Number 7. The Irish monasteries were centers of learning during the Dark Ages. Despite popular belief, the Dark Ages were not a time of complete intellectual darkness. In fact, many great advancements and achievements were made during this time, particularly in Ireland. Monks in Irish monasteries were some of the few literate individuals in Europe, preserving and distributing knowledge through the creation of elaborate manuscripts and teaching in their schools. They also made significant contributions in the fields of medicine, art, and architecture. These monasteries were not only places of learning, but also provided shelter and care for the sick and needy, demonstrating the compassion and humanity of those living in the Dark Ages. The term, Dark Ages, may have negative connotations, but it is important to recognize the myths and facts surrounding this period and appreciate the enlightenment that was present, especially within the Irish monasteries.
Number 6. The King Arthur Myth and the Knights of the Round Table. Hey there, history buffs! Today we're diving into the Dark Ages and dispelling some myths about this fascinating time period. Let's talk about one of the most enduring myths from the Dark Ages, the legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. The story of King Arthur originated in the 12th century and quickly became a beloved tale of chivalry, bravery, and romance. However, many of the details surrounding Arthur's life are steeped in myth and not historically accurate. For example, there is no evidence of a real King Arthur ruling over England, and the Knights of the Round Table are likely fictional characters. But that doesn't mean the legend isn't important. The Arthurian legend showcases the values of honor, loyalty, and courage, which were highly valued during the Dark Ages. So while the story may not be entirely factual, it sheds light on the cultural values and beliefs of the time. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical content. Number 5. The Dark Ages saw the development of feudalism. The term dark is often used to describe this time period because it is believed that there was a lack of progress in cultural achievements. However, this is a myth. In reality, the Dark Ages were a time of significant cultural, scientific, and technological advancements. One of the biggest misconceptions about the Dark Ages is that it was a time of widespread illiteracy and lack of education. In fact, monasteries served as centers of learning and preservation of knowledge during this time. Monks and nuns were dedicated to studying and copying ancient texts, laying the foundation for the Renaissance and the Age of Enlightenment. Additionally, the Dark Ages were a time of great innovation in agriculture, architecture, and military tactics. The period also saw the rise of powerful empires such as the Byzantine and Islamic empires. It is important to remember that the term, Dark Ages, was coined by Renaissance scholars who saw themselves as the enlightened ones compared to the supposedly ignorant people of the Middle Ages. This label is not an accurate representation of the time period and should not be used to dismiss its contributions to our modern world. The Dark Ages were indeed a time of great challenges and struggles, but they were also a time of progress and enlightenment. Number 4. The Vikings. Hey guys, welcome back to our video series on the Dark Ages. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Vikings. There's a lot of myths and misconceptions surrounding the Vikings, so let's start by dispelling some of those. First off, they weren't just a bunch of barbaric warriors. They were skilled sailors, traders, and craftsmen. Contrary to popular belief, the Vikings weren't just pillaging and raiding. They also established settlements and traded with other civilizations, spreading their influence and culture. But what about their reputation for violence and brutality? Well, it's not entirely unfounded. They did engage in warfare, but so did many other cultures during this time period. In fact, the Vikings were instrumental in bringing about the end of the Dark Ages and ushering in the period of Enlightenment. They helped to break down feudalism and establish a more centralized form of government. So let's give credit where credit is due. The Vikings were a complex and influential civilization, not just the savage raiders we often see portrayed in media. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos on the Dark Ages. Number 3. The Black Death. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into the Dark Ages and talking about one of the most devastating events in history, the Black Death. First off, let's clear up some myths. Contrary to popular belief, the Black Death was not caused by witches or curses. It was actually a highly contagious disease spread by fleas on rats. Now, for the facts. The Black Death, also known as the bubonic plague, swept through Europe in the 14th century and wiped out nearly 50% of the population. It caused painful boils, high fever, and ultimately death within days. But amidst the darkness, there was a glimmer of enlightenment. The Black Death led to advancements in medicine and public health, as well as social and economic changes. So there you have it, the truth about the Black Death. Let me know in the comments if you have any other facts or myths about the Dark Ages to share. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more historical content. See you in the next video. Number 2. The term was coined by Renaissance scholars. It was used to describe the period between the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century and the beginning of the Renaissance in the 14th century. During this time, Europe was in a state of decline with a lack of cultural and scientific advancements. However, the term Dark Ages is now considered a misrepresentation of this era. In reality, there were advancements in art, literature, and architecture during this time. It was also a period of cultural fusion as different civilizations and cultures interacted. The idea of a Dark Age was perpetuated by biased accounts from the Renaissance, which saw themselves as the pinnacle of civilization. In reality, the Renaissance was built on the foundations of the so-called Dark Ages. The term has since been debunked, and the period is now known as the Early Middle Ages, or Early Medieval period. This shift in perspective demonstrates the importance of looking beyond myths and biases to truly understand history. Number 1. The Dark Ages were not actually dark in terms of cultural and scientific advancements. This period, also known as the Early Middle Ages, was marked by the decline of the Western Roman Empire and the rise of feudal societies in Europe. It is often associated with a lack of progress and a time of ignorance, but this is not entirely true. In fact, the term Dark Ages was coined by Renaissance scholars who wanted to glorify their own era as a rebirth of classical learning. In reality, significant developments in art, literature, and architecture were made during this time. The myth of the Dark Ages can also be attributed to the limited written records from this period, as well as biases against non-Christian cultures. The Enlightenment of the 18th century saw a re-examination of the Dark Ages and a recognition of its contributions to Western civilization. It is important to acknowledge the achievements of this period and not fall into the trap of dismissing it as a time of darkness. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the Dark Ages. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the myths, uncovering the facts, and shedding some light on this fascinating and mysterious time in history. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay curious with us as we continue to discover the wonders of our world. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.